on Nova Legends podcast. I'm going to do my first Q&A. This is where I solicit questions from folks on the Nova Legends groups, also the Instagram groups, and I just answer the questions. I tried not to prepare too much. I had an idea what the questions are because I wanted to use the ones that were I thought most interesting. But I didn't want to. I wanted it to be a little bit off the cuff, and hopefully I can do this in one take. So thanks a lot for doing this. This is great. All right. First question I got was from Meghan McCarthy. Meghan, and she had a few questions. Meghan McCarthy was a 16-time state champion from Robinson in cross country and track and field. That's individual events. Her and her husband have a business and they've raised a beautiful family up in Massachusetts. I didn't know her. She's a little bit younger than me, but I got to know her a little bit. And this is one of the best things I like about Nova Legends is that a lot of times I talk to great athletes who are still performing and they're interesting to talk to and I love it. And I have a lot of people whose identity is wrapped up in that being that athlete that haven't competed in a while. But Megan is probably a person who people don't know that she's such a great athlete. She's probably been a mom and a business person a long time. So when I talked to her, she had someone who was really interested in her great career, which is something she probably doesn't talk about all the time because it probably would seem like boasting. So anyway, thank you, Megan, for the question. Um, who is the one guest you'd like to have on? So I did think about this a little bit, and I have a similar question later on. So if I had to pick one guest, it would be Sandra Bullock, Washington in back then Washington Lee High School, 1982 graduate. German was her first language. Her mother's German. She's raised in Germany. Her dad was a military officer. They moved here. We probably know some of the same people. Obviously, she's had a great career. And I haven't really had, I don't think, a Hollywood person. I had Steve Buckhantz, who was a little bit older than Sandra, who was at Washington Lee as well. He's a media guy for the Wizards and Fox News for a long time. But he's older and he's media. And I've had a lot of media guys, but Sandra would be great to have on. And I like her as an actress. She's beautiful and it would be fun. What era have you learned most about? This is also from Megan. And I thought that was a great question. And it was difficult to answer. I had to think about this a little bit. And I think I'd probably have to say the 70s. And the reason why is the 70s are the decade I'm most interested in hearing about. It's because I was young then, so I lived through some of these times, but I was too young to understand them. And I worshiped some of many of the athletes that played in the 70s, people that I've got a chance to talk to. Bobby Dandridge, even though he was much older, he played in the 70s for the Bullets. Todd Kirtley from Robinson, Mark Cox from Annandale. These are great athletes, great people that I've heard about when I was a kid and watched them play. And I had a chance to talk to them. And actually, some of them I've kept in contact with, like Tissall, Tommy Amaker, more towards the 80s, but same concept. So, when you interview people, you have to go back and kind of try to find out what's going on when they were playing to make the interview interesting. So I have learned a lot about the 70s. That would be number one. 80s, not so much because I lived it. I was old enough to understand it. I knew a lot of the players. I like it. I like it a lot, but I probably didn't learn as much. But I think when I interview the current athletes, 2020s or 2010s, that era, the ones that are people that are playing now, I guess born in the 2000s, you learn a lot from them about what life is like nowadays. A life in the Trump years, life where there's guns, an internet, in a social media age. So I always learn a lot from the younger athletes. Even though my son was a very good athlete, he played soccer, and I learned about the rest of the sports. Um, what is your favorite question to ask? Yeah, that's a very good question, and I try to have maybe some go-tos in mind. My dad was a minister, and he used to always say his go-to was always, "Will the church say? Can the church say Amen?" And it was just a way for him to get his thoughts together. Anyone who goes to a black church knows exactly what I'm talking about. I would think the question I like the best is, what impact do you think you would have had today? Megan asked this question as well, and I think I asked her that, which you've been just as good. I asked one of her peers, Aaron Keogh, the same question because running was in the very early stages, especially when Aaron did it. With Megan, it was 4 or 5 years later. But I love to hear what athletes think. It gives them a chance to brag about themselves or show their modesty or whatever. But I enjoy that question. And a lot of times there's some really good insight in things that they probably wouldn't have been as good at, things they would have been good at. Like, for example, Grant Hill did not shoot three-pointers, even though he played in that age. In the end, by the time he was in college and pros, but he didn't grow up shooting them. So he was never a big time three-point shooter. I think he had 1 year where he shot some in the NBA. Anyway, I also like asking people who are their influences. That's a pretty basic interview question, but you learn a lot about them, and hopefully it gives them a chance to give people credit, and also maybe give them a chance to be introspective and think about things that they hadn't thought about or people they hadn't thought about. Second question was anonymous. What local podcaster do you respect the most? And this is an interesting question. And first of all, I think one of the most important things to me is I have to feel like someone's in it for the right reason, and which in my mind, or at least the reason I do it, because I like to give exposure. I like to have a good conversation. I like to celebrate sports and the people, the athletes and the coaches. And frankly, I like people that are willing to share their platform with me. There's so many people that they're happy to be on my show. They're happy to post on my social media all the time. Um, because the social media groups, the Nova Legends groups, they have probably a total of 60,000 people, but they never give me a platform. They'll never have me on their show. And to me, that's annoying. I help them, but they're not willing to help me. That's my biggest criticism. So with that in mind, there's two things in mind. My favorite is Chad Ricardo. First, yes, he's had me on his show, give me a huge audience, um, and I appreciate that. His enthusiasm for sports is undeniable, and I wish I could act like that. He has a way. If I acted like that, or most people act like that, we would seem silly. His flashy clothes, they look great on him. Not many people could pull that off, but it's who he is. And when you're authentic, you can do things that some of us would look crazy doing. So I respect Chad. My second answer will probably surprise a lot of people because I haven't always gotten along with him, and sometimes there's been a little tension. But it's the Kirk and Bird show, and I think I'm not sure if Kirk is doing it now, but Rusty Bird has a new show called The Last Word, not to be confused with Lawrence O'Donnell's show. Um, and the reason why I picked them is we started about the same time. They were more of an 804 group, 757 group, 757 group, but they live up here, and I think they were able to take advantage of some of the energy that we were creating, and they have the same enthusiasm. They don't do it for themselves. They do it for the athletes and the coaches. They have a silliness that I like. It's authentic. The enthusiasm is infectious. They've invited me on their show many times, but not just me. Um, Jason Sterling, Matthew, who's the godfather of the guru, Hatfield, Matthew Hatfield, of course, the great Matthew Hatfield. They've brought so much great talent to the air, and they are very unselfish with their platform, and I appreciate them. So Chad Ricardo and the Kirk and Bird show are my favorite local podcasts. Third question is from a guy named John Lynch. John, who I don't know. I take it he's from Bassett, Henry County area. He asked, what city county do I think has the most state championships for all sports? And I know what he's thinking. That's probably the Martinsville area, maybe over there near GW Danville, that whole area. But I don't think so. I think in revenue sports, I think you're right. I think in football and basketball, that would be true. I think the basketball alone, 15 state championships. They've had a lot of great football players. Nikki Fisher, there's many. But I would think the wealthier areas of Northern Virginia, because there's so many sports like cross country, tennis, golf, those sports count too. So if you're talking state titles, indoor track, outdoor track, I mean, I would probably think that Northern Virginia would probably do it just because of the breadth of the sports that are up here, and also uh, because of the VHSL in the Class Six now. I think probably 25 of the Class Six teams are Northern Virginia. So by default, we probably have the most. I don't think that's fair, but I think it's probably true. But great question, John. My next question is from my friend Carlos Salazar. I always love hearing from Carlos because he's such a upbeat, positive guy, great member of the group. I take it he's from the Reston area of Northern Virginia, but he loves the basketball. He asked me to pick my five top games that I've seen. So um, when I've said seen, I'm going to put in there that I've been there personally, but I am going to grandfather in one game I wasn't there, but I watched on cable TV, and that's the 2008 TC Williams Bethel game. TC Williams, Northern Virginia, Fairfax County, Arlington, Alexandria, had not won a state championship since the 1981 Charlie Thompson and that Lee, the mythical Lee team. And it was seen as that we were not good enough. The kids weren't tough enough. We're the coach wasn't the coaches, but the basketball just wasn't good enough up here. And the teams downstate, Richmond, 757, were just better than us. Also, the Danville area as well. And that was a team that broke through. They not only broke through, they dominated a good Bethel team. I think they won by 20 points. And one of the most unbelievable display of basketball that a team from up here has ever shown. So that's one of the greatest moments. But I wasn't there, but I watched it on TV. And so I'm going to go in chronological order, I guess. I'm going to say the 1984 TC Williams Woodson Regional Final basketball at Robinson. I don't know if it was a sellout, but I think there were 6,000 people there. That was Tommy Amherst's Woodson team. The great Red Jenkins coached that team. Pat Whitting, also a Division One player at American. Thad Wittenberg, I believe. God, that team. Andy Heck, young Andy Heck. That team was so good. But TC Williams, they didn't probably have any D1 talent except for Tyrone Shaw, definitely a D1 player played at West Virginia. But they had a bunch of just tough guys that were ballers. Chick, Brian Vaughn, Doug Lovelace, Michael Murray, Bobby Boyd, Charleston Miller. That was a great TC Williams team. One of the best teams that I've seen, not talent-wise, but one of the best teams I've seen, coached by Mike Heinsohn. Tommy Amaker made the winning shot at the buzzer. It was after the buzzer, so they lost. And that TC Williams team went to the state championship for the second year in a row, and they would play Marshall Walker for the second year in a row, and they would lose at the buzzer. They also made a buzzer beater from half court that came after the buzzer. So, but that was a great game. Second, I would say is 1990 Wakefield South Lakes. Unbelievable crowd. When Grant Hill South Lakes team played, there was always a huge crowd. They had a Mike Tyson like environment there, and that was a great South Lakes team. They were going to go to the state whether they won or lost, unlike Woodson's team. That only one team went. So Tommy Amaker's team did not go to state. So both teams were guaranteed a berth in the state tournament. And Grant Hill had Theron Curry. They had Howard Hogan. They had a young Joey Beard. And I forgot, Rob Robinson had graduated. They had one more player, maybe a Harwood, one of the Harwood brothers. They were huge. They played a 1-3-1 zone with Grant Hill up top. It was tough to move the ball in that zone. They're a very skinny team, very long team, but they could shoot. Howard Hogan, one of the first three-point shooting teams I remember with Theron and Howard. There have been some teams, the Lee teams with Jeff Jeviden and Bill Courtney could shoot, but this is Dave Zodarecki. But this team was a three-point shooting team. Anyway, Wakefield beat him in probably one of the bigger upsets. I'm not sure how big an upset that was with Bob Valdran coaching and Kendra Hunter, who had a great career at Duquesne, I believe. He's had also a nice career as a Division One assistant coach. But they had Rayfield Boyd. I'm going to miss these guys. I've had them on my podcast. I'm sorry, guys. But that was a really, really, really good team. And next, I'm going to go to keep this in chronological order. So I'm going to go to soccer, and I'm going to go to South Lakes playing Yorktown 2021 at Washington Liberty because Yorktown was closed due to graduation ceremonies. My son was on the Yorktown team, so I'm biased. He may have had COVID going into this is during COVID, so this is the year we played during the lockdown. He thought he couldn't play. We did not test him because did not want to be ruled out. We had a 101 fever. And South Lakes had beaten us soundly twice that year. It was the year that you only played district games because they wanted to keep things contained as much as possible. Our district was unbelievable. I think that that was two of our maybe three losses all year. It was a great South Lakes team. They probably would have won state the year before if it hadn't been canceled. And then I think they'd won it the year before that. Amazing team. My son got taken out early in the game, tactical substitution, but he came in and had one of his greatest 20 minutes he's played. He sat on the bench with 101 fever, went out there and gave him 20 great minutes in the second half. Never been prouder than that kid. Love you, son. And then anyway, the game went into four different overtimes. South Lakes scored in the third overtime, or in the second. No, they scored in the second, in the first overtime. So it wasn't sudden death. We had one more 5-minute overtime. After they scored, the South Lakes player came over and flipped off the Yorktown crowd, and the Yorktown crowd deserved to be flipped off. But he got a red card. He was out. So they were one man down. We scored off the kickoff and put it. Actually, that was it. Would it? Yeah, that was in the second. It was in the second overtime. We tied it up under a minute to go. One man up because of that red card. I forgot who scored the goal, but I think it was John McMahon. Unbelievable moment. The crowd was unbelievable. It was unbelievable. Anyway, went into penalty kicks. 23 straight penalty kicks made in a row. I have never seen that happen before. Precision by these kickers, all the pressure in the world. Only one team went to state because of COVID. It wasn't two teams ago. One team went. 23 players made their penalties in a row. Unbelievable. These guys, the nerve of these players, Justin Melly, Nate Woods, both teams, no one missed. Finally, both teams switched goalies. And Tristan Kickbush, who just finished his career, he played striker for Yorktown, but he was a goalie on his club team and played goalie at Mary Washington, defensive player of the year. He made the save that put us into the state championship, and the crowd just was all over the field. I almost get tears talking about it. It was an unbelievable moment, Tristan, and all the Yorktown players who made the penalties. And the South Lakes, you guys were champions. Unbelievable game, guys. If I can put a replay on that, I should probably do that. That was such a great moment. Anyway, next I'm going to go. I'm going to go back. I'm going to go to football, and I'm going to go to Madison Oscar Smith 2024 state final. Unbelievable game. Kind of the same thing. We're not good enough. Oscar Smith, the 757, the teams are too tough. Madison teams are not going to win. They're not athletic enough. But they had a guy named Dominic Nisley, who's having a great freshman year at Coastal Carolina. Unbelievable wingback, running back, quarterback named Cale Yates. Amazing coach named Justin Counts, my UVA boy. They just gave Oscar Smith everything. I mean, it was a cold day, windy, very cold day down in James Madison. Oscar Smith has a Division I quarterback assigned at UVA, Lonnie Andrews. Can't believe I got his name. They have a Division I wide receiver, Travis Johnson, that's going to, I forgot where, maybe Oklahoma, Michigan, maybe. Unbelievable player. This was a great team. But Madison led from the third, after halftime. They came in, took control in the second half, had all the momentum. And then Oscar Smith did a drive. They had not moved the ball the whole second half. The young Lonnie Andrews, sophomore, drove this team 90 yards down the field for a touchdown. And it looked like the game was over. I think it was under 30 seconds. Madison got the ball, I think a decent return on the kickoff. They completed one pass to get to like the 47-yard line of Oscar Smith. And unbelievable play. Cale Yates, quarterback, left hand, baseball player now, threw the ball into the end zone. And Dominic Nisley got behind the defense. No idea how. And Madison scored to go within one. So it's 21-20 at the end of regulation. Well, Madison player throws his helmet onto the field, and it's a Madison player throws his helmet into the field, and it's a unsportsmanlike conduct. So he had 15 yards to the extra point. So they probably would have gone for two at the 3 yard line, go for the win. I think the analytics say you're supposed to go for that. You don't kick a field goal and go to overtime. You go for those 3 yards, and but instead they went for it on two-point conversion, pass into the end zone, uh, lead pass to Dominic Nisley. Just maybe it was a catchable ball, but it would have been a great catch. And he put the ball only place it could have been put, and he wasn't able to complete the pass. But unbelievable game, unbelievable season. Congrats to Oscar Smith again, and to Madison for a great game, and maybe even a rematch in the next few weeks. Stay tuned. And and then for the last game, and I think I'm going to have to go actually games. I'm going to go with it happened the same night this year in soccer. Uh, Overwhelming favorite Hearn McLean had not lost. Probably six Division One players on the roster. I think at least two are already playing or at least signed. One of the best teams I have seen in high school soccer. Just destroyed everybody. They're playing Matt and Wakefield, who they'd beaten 5-0 early in the year, and they're playing on one field. 15 miles away, Westfield, who had beaten McLean and they were probably tied for the top teams in the area. Unbelievable team. Michael Deslin, who's going to ODU, Ethan O'Connor, his brother, and others. So many. I don't want to shortchange these players. They were hosting Herndon, O2 Basong, uh, and God, I am zoning in all these great kids. Sorry, guys. But anyway, great team, great coach, and those 2 years going on at once. There's tornadoes in the forecast, horrible rainstorm. My son and I are at the Westfield Herndon game because we thought McLean would beat Wakefield easily. They beat him 5-0, and but the weather changed everything. And at the Westfield Herndon game, we went home thinking that the game was going to be canceled. And with Westfield ahead 1-0, with the weather, they're probably going to be declared champions, and the game was going to be over. So we went home. We drove home. My son was hungry. We were going to watch them both on NFHS if they played the games. Well, they played the games, and we turned it back on. Herndon had equalized at Wakefield with Manny Aquintil, and tremendous prospect as well. And Wakefield and McLean, they went 0-0. Both these games go into overtime. Oh, both these games go through 4 overtime. They're happening at the same time. I think the McLean game is slightly before the game at Westfield. They shoot penalties at McLean. Penalties are being shot. They're shooting penalties at Westfield. Wakefield in an unbelievable. Actually, the rain had stopped. They win the game in penalties. The Wakefield coach had taken his shirt off. Coach Eddie Carrasquillo, who did a great job this year, took his shirt off in a celebration. It was pandemonium, and the shirt off was actually McLean's signature celebration, and that was a great moment. 5 minutes later, O2 Basong, who probably invented the shirt off celebration in Northern Virginia, he converts the last penalty. Herndon had been down the penalty. They win it. O2 shirts off. He's celebrating. Just an amazing night in Northern Virginia soccer. So it's two games, but I'm gonna put them into one night, one game. So those are my 5 greatest nights in Northern Virginia sports history. Thanks for the question, Carlos. So now I want to go to my good friend Shannon Elliott. Shannon Elliott. I think Shannon is a 1990 grad of South Lakes around that time, maybe 91. His daughter just won the got third in the state championship in cross country. I think she's won 14 or 15 state championships individually in cross country, indoor track and track. She's a 800 and a 1600 specialist. So cross country is a little bit beyond her discipline, but she's a fighter. Anyway, Shannon's a great guy. Shannon's a great guy and his wife, a great person as well. He asked most logically challenging podcast to coordinate. And that was easy. That was Daryl Overton, coach of the St. James, who had a great season this year. Congratulations, coach. Coach who had won state championships at Freedom 2 in a row, was at Hayfield, embroidered in that controversy last year. He wanted an interview, but he had to do it in person. Just had to. So I've always done um, podcasts with Zoom. It's easy. You tape it, it's done for you. It's easy to edit. It's ready in a half hour. But he just had to do it in person. So I don't have a studio. So I try to get a studio. Talk to my friend Greg Copeland, who has a great podcast himself. I'll make sure I'll put that. The elocution, great podcast, great lawyer. He let me do it in his dining room. He put together a very nice studio. He has the equipment. His nephew Cameron, son of my good friend Kenny Copeland, he did the taping. So I was able to coordinate all that. Wasn't cheap. I was limited to 45 minutes. It was so I couldn't really dig deep. I had to ask quick questions. So it was not my favorite format. And by the time I got the interview, and I think it's a good interview, I hope, there was another podcast who had the same interview with Coach Overton. Everyone was waiting for this interview. He released his the day before. So, it was a great interview. I'm glad I did it, but it probably didn't have the impact that it could have. If I would have done it just with a Zoom, I would have had my material out there earlier. But I learned a lot. I thought it was quality material, and I got to meet Coach in person. So it was great. Generally, big groups are tougher to coordinate. Just anytime it's more than a couple people, it's getting schedules together. It's tough. So that's generally. Who did I learn the most from? I want to say my Aunt Manuelita. She went through segregated schools. She graduated from Luther Jackson High School when it was an all blacks school in 1959. She lived in Vienna. She took the bus before they built Luther Jackson in 1954. She took the bus to Manassas to the industrial school for colored children, I think, which was a regional school, which was subsidized in part by Fairfax County. But it was in Manassas. Kids from I think several counties went. Some counties had their own school for black kids. Others contributed to the school. And it closed in 54, and then she went to Luther Jackson. I just learned the history was so rich. And I think the most important thing I learned from my Aunt Manuelita was they were empowered by their experience at Luther Jackson. They didn't feel sorry for themselves. They were happy to be there. Their teachers were inspired and great, and they didn't know what they were missing in integrated schools. And we've been blessed to be able to go to schools, all different types of kids, and the diversity and the equity and inclusion. Yes, DEI is amazing and part of my life, but she was empowered by the life that she had, and I learned that from her. That they didn't feel sorry for themselves. That was a great interview. Um, Similarly, um, I learned a lot from Andy Heck, who I played basketball against. He's an offensive line coach for the Chiefs, and he played at um, Notre Dame. And I learned a lot from all the coaches, but he really knows the nuts and bolts of coaching, and that was great. And I really enjoyed meeting Andy. Um, I learned so much from all the coaches about the game and about inspiring people. So, I mean, Danny Meyer, there's so many, Dick Adam, um, uh, geez, I'm going to leave people out. My own coach, Coach McKeag. Um, uh, you know, uh, there's Charlie Thompson, uh, Mark Bendorf, guys, I'm gonna leave people out that are Jim Lewis, just so many people. There's so many guys. I'm leaving people out. Will Robinson, so many, so many, so many. But I'm gonna go into modern football coaches because I don't understand football. And Justin counts for the way he just. I learn so much every time I talk to him about the game and how he builds his program. And Daryl Overton, Coach Overton's probably known. If you watch his videos, you see the inspiration and all that stuff, and he's great at that. And if you only watch him on the internet, that's what you see. He is so insightful in the game, just talking about the nuances and how he beats people. And then when I watch him coach, underrated in terms of his tactics. I think everyone knows he's a great coach, but his tactics. Now, bucket list of people from Shannon Elliott, and we covered this a little bit with Megan, but Hubert Davis, coach of UNC, played at Lake Braddock. that should be a no-brainer since my dad and his dad played golf every day of their every Saturday of their lives. Good friends. I knew Hubert since he was a kid. He hasn't had time to interview me. Confused about that, but I do appreciate him coming to my dad's funeral. But that's one I probably should have. Carol Lawson, when I reached out, I got a stern letter back from an assistant saying she's not interested. I haven't forgotten that, and that told me all I needed to know. So I've never asked twice. Noah Lyles for what he's done. I would be a great guy to interview. Of course, AI, Allen Iverson, would love to interview him. I refereed his games when he played for um, I interviewed Allen Iverson's games when he played for Bethel. Well, he's playing for Boo Williams at the time. It'd be great. Especially he's gone through this metamorphosis. He's quit drinking. He's a very bright guy. And, he's a great athlete, but sometimes when people are that athletic, that's what you see. It's so much more than that. Alan Webb, for obvious reasons, one of the greatest runners in the history of Northern Virginia. Charlie Garner, who I used to play pickup ball against at the crossroads, and we're very alike basketball wise. Kind of athletic, aggressive players. Charlie, you're a much better athlete than me, so I'm sorry, but I'm not an NFL player. But he's a very incredible running back, and he's gifted. Kind of had a little bit of Barry Sanders before Barry, and a little bit of everything. And Katie Couric, I think she'd be great to interview. Great questions, Shannon. I would like to wrap this up by saying, even though I have bucket list, I'm most interested in talking to people, just a regular athlete. I like the star athlete, and I love the stories. I love the coaches. And again, I'm sorry for the coaches. I haven't talked a lot. I didn't. The coaches like Carlos Poindexter and Mike Desmond, all my panel of coaches that I have on, they're incredible. Tony Bentley, David Halston, Doug Craig, Kevin Harris, the Loudon guys. I've learned so much from you guys too. I don't want to shortchange you because I feel like you guys are part of what I do. You guys are all great coaches and for very different reasons. But I just like talking to people that want to have their story told and that'll share their time with me, knowing that I don't pay. The pay is not very good. And I love being able to spread, their story and the best I can. Thanks for indulging this 45 minutes. And thanks for all your views and shares and subscribes. Have a good day.